Yeah.
No.
I would love to be a hippie.
Okay. Hey friends, it's TJ. So today I have a very special guest,
Oh.
a really good friend of mine. But before we go there, because you were very explicit about wanting to taste the tea for today,
Yeah.
today we are having a caramel delight. It's I think like a dark oolong tea, like a roasted oolong tea. So go ahead and taste it and tell me what you think.
Okay, before I was going to say the smell of it reminds me of those caramel rice cakes. I used to eat them when I was little. They was nasty, but this smells really good. That's nice because it smells sweet, but it's not. And it's very earthy, but not like you know how sometimes a darker tea will taste burnt. Well, I guess if it's steeped too long or wrong.
It'll taste very bitter.
Yeah, bitter.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you.
You know, I like earthy, earth stuff.
I picked this one just for you. So, please introduce yourself.
Hello, world. My name is Morgan McGhee. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and now I live here in the adjacent to the Big Apple. I have moved to New Jersey, thank God.
But it's still New York.
It's 100% still New
Yeah.
York. I can get to Midtown faster than people in Queens, Brooklyn.
Or up here.
Yes. What's the other one? On the yellow Astoria. That's
Oh,
Queens. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not the real Queens, but what else? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I love TJ very, very much.
Oh, I love you.
We used to have some adventures.
Yes, and I feel like we should probably. So, okay, let's do this. Explain to our audience, how did we meet?
Me and TJ did a show together, Jesus Christ Superstar, and that was something.
Yeah.
We started in Lancaster, right? We started in Lancaster, sat down for 2 months, and then we went to the West Coast. That was a time.
It was.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
And it's always so funny too, because when people like bring up Jesus Christ, I was like, oh yeah, I did the show. And they be like, oh, like when did you do it? I was like, it was a tour. They were like, oh, you did the national tour, and I was like,
Not
no.
really, but
I always remember Amy being like, this is a special engagement. It was like, girl, but yes, and then we came and sat back down in Florida. And yeah,
we've been friends ever since.
We've been friends ever since.
Yeah. I remember our rehearsal period, and I think it was still early in the process. I don't think we were off book yet, but I think it might have been when we were blocking. What was that number that we had together with like the lepers and it was like the temple scene.
Oh yes.
I think that's when we first like started talking to each other, and I immediately was like, oh, okay. Got it. We're of the same mind.
I don't know when in the process it was, but I do remember being like, oh, okay. I was also jealous of you because I really wanted your part.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not fair.
Why?
I have very limited musical theater roles in my repertoire.
I know, but
that
it
I'm
was
able to
just
do.
You just did it so well.
Thank
And
you.
the fact that I thought that I could do it comparable to you,
Well,
I wanted to do it so bad. Yo, gentleman. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. But anyway,
for those who don't know, what
that
we're
TJ is
referencing
very, very talented.
Thank you. I played Caiaphas in this production of Jesus Christ Superstar. So, what is happening with you now? Because it's been a while. We've not seen each other.
Yeah. I just got back from Chicago. I feel like I was in Chicago all last year. I was there in the summer doing the Who's Tommy. And then I just got back doing Boop. The boop-a-doopsicle.
Sweet Lord.
So silly.
I love it.
But it's cute. I'm having a good time in life right now. A little tired, but like I'm on the way to getting a little rest, you know. But yeah, I feel blessed, really, really blessed right now, because even though it is some of the processes are long and strenuous, but I've been very, very fortunate to be doing, like, for the past 2 years, working on original stuff, you know, like in creating roles and being a part of like the beginning of the creative processes. Oh, I've always wanted to say that in some kind of capacity. And just seeing like the groundwork that's done and like how things change and how much they change and being a part of why it changes. And I think it's really, really cool to me. And I have a lot of respect for people who, you know, like are able to step into themselves and create something, you know, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
But yes, I've been very, very fortunate, and I'm just kind of riding the wave right now of gratitude and blessings.
Love that.
And yeah.
I love it. So I let you pick the subject for this episode. And I think just in your brief introduction and catching up, I feel like it kind of aligns with pretty much what you've been going through. But you chose mindfulness, which I think is something that is
a dying art.
But I feel like our generation is slowly becoming more and more aware of like mental health and trying to be mindful in situations and trying to take care of our minds and our bodies and our spirits. And so with all that you've gone through in the past few months of like being away from home for like months on end and like doing all of these projects, how have you been able to tap into that mindfulness? I'm not able to not, if that makes sense. Okay.
It's just something I can't be unaware of the things around me. And I don't understand how that is so easy for people. And it's not even just other people. It's things too. Things that don't belong to us.
Yeah.
Or even things that we think do belong to us. You know, I don't know what that's like to walk around and have no regard. Jesus, you know what I meant. No regard. Yes. Okay.
So what would you say is because I feel like people have different perspectives on mindfulness and how they practice it. What would you say is your point of view when it comes to being mindful?
I really think it comes from religion and just being brought up in a religious household and treat your neighbor as thyself, beat into you, you know. It's just I don't want to treat anybody how I wouldn't want to be treated, you know. And I just can't. The thing for me is how people think that like when things happen that they are so removed from that and it's just so far away from their reality and it's not. Crazy things can happen. Like no matter where you are in life, what you're doing, no matter how successful you think you are or how far removed or how protected you think you are, and we see examples of it every day. It's why I hate the internet. But it's just I can't imagine doing and I'm not perfect. I've done things before, but I'm also not above knowing that I'm wrong and apologizing and trying to make it right. And I think that is also the thing. Like when we do slip up, acknowledge it.
Yeah. I think that's one of my biggest things when it comes to being mindful is trying to remain mindful not only for myself but for the people around me. And I have encountered people which I think is what you're hinting at, but I've encountered people who can be a little aloof when it comes to being mindful of others. And I'm sure both of us have stories of like rehearsal rooms and jobs and
Walking down the
and
street.
experiences. And, yeah. I mean, even on the train in New York City, it's like there are so many times where I am sitting there or standing on the platform or standing on the train, and the complete like unawareness that there is someone else next to you or in front of you or beside you. So many times I've encountered people who literally will come and stand right here
Yeah.
and be on their phone or, somewhere else, and completely unaware of like how close they are to another human being. And I've realized, I think the pandemic taught me a lot coming out of Disney and coming back to New York and having to be isolated and having to be with myself for a long period of time. When I finally was back around people, I started to realize and comprehend and be like, wait a minute. Like there are other human beings around me. Like I didn't realize how much I missed being around people. And so when we started to like reopen the city and like grocery stores would open and like gyms and theater opened, just to be around people was kind of invigorating. But what I noticed is that a lot of people coming out of that and coming out of the pandemic were unaware of the other people around them. Yeah.
And it's not just physical, because I really feel like the physical thing is the smallest, most it's just like, yeah, whatever, like people are stupid. But it's also, I'm starting to notice a lot of things in like relationships and not romantic, like friendships or like working relationships, and people not being aware of what they say, like what comes out of your mouth, especially if it's somebody that you know or you claim to know. Experiences that this person has gone through. You might even know what's going on in their life right now. And for people to not be considerate of that when things come out of their mouth or, just even actions, that they may display. It's mind boggling to me. I don't understand it. And sometimes when I really think about it, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why can't you take the extra
2 seconds
to think about what you're going to say, who you're talking to, especially if Jesus Christ. Nowadays, people always like, spread love, give love, love, self-love, self-care. Shut up. And the mindfulness too kind of goes, it's an excuse for it to go out the window too. And people like, I'm self-care, I'm taking care of myself. Girl, boy, sir, ma'am, that's not a thing. Like, because if you claim to embody love, and it would already be inside of you. Now, once again, I'm not perfect. But I just don't understand. And then it goes to like a socioeconomic level, and thank God that we are blessed and privileged to be in the spaces where we are. And I know sometimes it's not perfect, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think there has been this explosion of, and I said this earlier, there's been this explosion of like our generation focusing on like mental health and trying to better ourselves or better themselves. And I agree that there is a point where it can become a little too much. Or let me rephrase. I agree that in some cases it can be very performative. And I think those are the moments and those are the interactions that I have no interest in. Because the past few years has shown me a lot and taught me a lot about myself and has pushed me in a place, and I'm going to just throw this out there. I feel like you have been with me in a very vulnerable place before, and compared to where I am now, having not seen me for a few years, I know that like that version of me was not as strong as this version that exists now.
Amen.
And so,
Congratulations.
thank you. And so, you know, the past few years has really taught me a lot, especially being on the other side of 30, and realizing that every decision that is made is mine to make. Not my partner's, not my family's, not my friends, right? Not my employer, none of those people. Every decision is on me. And so if there is a certain quality of life that I want, if there is a certain type of relationship that I want, if there's a certain lifestyle that I want, all of those decisions have to come from me. And I think if we're talking about mindfulness as a whole, I think that is the piece that I have been focusing on for the past few years, of like really being intentional about what I want from the life that I have, and figuring out how to achieve that and how to put things in place so that things can happen. But I feel like so many people have become very performative when it comes to self-development, self-care, self-love, all of those things. Because I do feel like those things are important as individuals. Because I would not be sitting here today had I not gone through that journey. But in a lot of instances, people can use it and manipulate it to be very performative and to garner attention that is not attention.
Genuine.
Yeah, it's not genuine.
It's, and whatever, I'm gonna say it. A lot of things now are also trendy, you know? So it's like you see these people, and once again on the internet, so I hate the internet, and people are like, oh, I like this person, or I like their persona, I like their style, like their vibe. I'm gonna try and do that.
But I see that I think that is my problem with when it comes to that, because I'm like, but you aren't them.
No.
And the thing that makes you special is your individuality.
Yeah. And by all means, take some time to figure out what that is. But you can't copy and paste something else.
So shifting gears for a moment, what I'm curious to know, because I know I have certain rituals and things in place when I am working on a show, and how I practice mindfulness in those situations. What are some tools that you use, or like what are some practices or rituals that you use when you are performing?
Let me tell you something. I'm the most inconsistent person on the planet. Like,
Okay.
I'm waking up. I like to get lots of sleep. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But if I can get lots of sleep, then I'm a great person.
Okay.
If I could crack 2 eggs in the skillet and put it, you know what? That's my ritual. I like breakfast, no matter what time it is.
Okay.
I can't eat too early, but before, like say rehearsals at 10, before I leave the house, I need to have made breakfast and wrapped it up some kind of way.
Okay.
And when I get there, maybe about noon, the first break, I have to eat my breakfast.
Interesting.
Because if I don't,
Yeah.
it's not cute.
I get that.
And now the more that I think about this, it is like a ritual thing without even thinking about it. I always make, if I don't have time to eat the breakfast, I always make a breakfast sandwich. And when it comes about time for that break, that first break in an hour and 20 minutes into whatever, I always sit in a corner and I drink my tea, whatever I brought that day, my matcha or whatever it is. And I like to eat my breakfast. And I really do believe that keeps me grounded. And that makes me a better person.
I get that. I'm like, tea is one of those things for me, like one of those tangible things, because I feel like you've encountered this when we worked together. But I need a cup before I deal with the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of, or I need a cup when I need a moment to myself to think without the outside world around me.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of the show came from that, of like these
Nice.
like moments where I'm sitting having a cup of tea and I have a thought, and I'm like, oh, that would be an interesting conversation or a quote or something or whatever. And so that's how I started the show. But I completely understand that. I get that. Like sometimes you have to figure it out and ground yourself before you open yourself up to the world.
Yeah.
You know?
And I wish I was one of those people who like, I've always wanted to get up early and like complete a morning routine. But I really like to sleep.
Yeah.
And if I know I don't need to do whatever that thing is, I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah.
But I wish in a perfect world, I wish I could get up at 7 a.m. and feel rested and stretch, do me a little Pilates, you sweat a little bit, fix me some tea, sit on my yoga mat and like maybe write something down a little bit or read something, fix me some breakfast, eat it, and then go about my day. But it just don't happen like that.
I was gonna say, because I'm not a morning person either.
Oh,
but the problem is that like I'm a night person. I'm a night owl.
Me too.
And some of my best ideas, some of my best thoughts, some of my most solitary thoughts happen at night. Like just last night, I was literally on TikTok scrolling through, because my TikTok is church TikTok, because I've fallen into that.
I'm so weak.
But it's very me. But I fell down a rabbit hole last night, and I was scrolling and just watching some videos and had this I told you this when you came in, that I'm like was in a gospel mood today because I was just there.
He had the jams playing like
but like last night contributed to that because I fell down this rabbit hole and forgot the sensation and the sense of joy and like the beauty and the I don't know how else to say it, but like how the music kind of washes over you. That feeling. Like I forgot what that felt like.
It feels so good.
It does. It feels so good. It for me, it feels very similar to when I hear like an orchestra play. Yeah.
The strings.
Yeah. Like that's what gospel music does for me. Especially like praise and worship-y type of songs.
Full choir, please. No praise teams.
Well, it's a chord thing. It's totally a chord thing for me. Like
a
those,
crunchy.
I think last night it started with This Morning When I Rose. Like I'd scrolled and I saw that and I was like, oh, I remember that. I remember listening to that on Sunday. But yeah, I also think the lifestyle we live as actors contributes to this like not really having a morning routine thing. Yeah. Because you're so used to working at night and being up and like active and, being present. Yeah. But I will say that Disney kind of did this to me because our shows were during the day where they weren't like super early. They were kind of like mid-morning. I think the first show was at like 10 or 11. But it gave me enough time to kind of have like a fake morning. And I appreciated that too.
Yeah, because don't call me too early. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, 7, 8 o'clock, I'm not up. Yeah. Like, don't expect me to form full thoughts at all.
And sometimes I think about it. Like I was saying, I wish I was that kind of person who had like rituals or, like people do sound baths and all this stuff. And sometimes I wish I was that kind of person. And then sometimes I'm like, thank God I don't need that, because, and I think it's just a strong foundation, Yeah. I was raised right.
I was going to say, I think my modern equivalent, I don't want to say modern because I'm interested in the idea of a sound bath, again, mainly because of the sounds. They do something to me. But I think my version of that for myself that probably does the same thing is I will get in the shower. I will turn the lights off and play like something like either like a gospel song or like a orchestral song and just let it like fill the room.
That was scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Really?
What?
Why? It's so soothing.
I am so like, I need to see everything that's happening, especially like in the bathroom. I probably watch too many movies, but in the bathroom, I feel like that's where all of the crimes happen. People have their back turned, they singing in the shower. It's steamy, so you can't see what's going on. Turn that light on. I need to be mindful of everything that's happening in that bathroom.
Okay.
I'm also probably a little touched, but it's okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So in a perfect world, say you're living your most amazing life. You have everything you ever wanted. Whatever that is for you. What would be your routine to like ground yourself?
Oh my gosh. That's so funny because, not to be dramatic, but my eyes just started watering. I'm just so dramatic. I was literally thinking about this. Like, the thought started maybe like a month ago, and I think about it constantly now. My dream world. I live on a farm. I get up. That's my alarm. I get up. I'm going to say what's up to the chickens, seeing what they got, gathering them, talking to them. Good morning, y'all. Milk the cow or something. Whatever's there. Picking some fresh fruit off the vine or the tree or whatever we have. Hopefully, there's an abundant harvest. Going into the kitchen. Putting said things away, the milk, the eggs, putting the fruit in the refrigerator, going into my sunroom on my yoga mat, and doing whatever I want. And that's a stretch. Maybe I do a little Pilates, or maybe I just sit there on the mat, lay there and breathe or whatever. And when I'm done, I want to go and I want to chop that fruit up, or rinse it, wash it, put it in a bowl, put it on the counter, or put it in the refrigerator and have it available for snacks for the entire day. Take some other said fruit, juice it, have that be available for the day. Fix my family some breakfast, because children are involved in this. And whenever that process is, at least halfway done, wake up. It's time to get up. Very, very gently though. Come on, y'all. It's time to get up. How y'all feeling today? All right. Go wash the crust out your eyes. And let's see what we got today. And everybody come downstairs and we eat breakfast, and maybe the kids go to school, or maybe they, depending on what day it is. Oh, my husband, he gonna come downstairs too, I guess. He's there. I mean, husband or whatever word we decide to use, whatever. And later that day, maybe when we figure out what we want to eat, we go pick it. And we bring it into the kitchen and wash it. And maybe I do a little work. Depending on what's going on. Maybe he does a little work. Maybe he leaves to go and do whatever work needs to be done. But I have these strong aspirations to just live off of some land in a very modern way.
I get that.
I need stainless steel appliances in
of course. I can't.
An overhead shower.
Right. Not an outhouse.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, and then and maybe it's like that for a month, and then I go and I grind for 4 months, and then I could come back home, and I have that routine every day. And I'm not saying it has to happen every day, but like, even if it's an on and off kind of thing, I feel like I need that in my life. I know I need that in my life because I see it, and I see it all the time. Since I've been thinking about it,
You mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about doing yoga. Do you find that is another space that you inhabit that helps you kind of ground yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially doing it with someone too. It's so funny when we were doing Boop in Chicago. There's this girl in the cast. I love her so much, Gabriella. She went and found this yoga because she loves yoga too. She found this yoga studio and she invited me, and it was one of the best classes I had ever taken. And
What kind of class was it?
a yin. It was a yin class, but it was heated, not too much, but it was like 80, 85 degrees in the room.
Okay.
But it was the right balance of like challenging and rejuvenating. And it always just feels good to have somebody next to you that's on the same wavelength, you know, that y'all trying to accomplish the same goal, like start the day off right. I love going to yoga. Sometimes I've been to some yoga classes where the vibe is off, and I have wanted to leave mid class, but I paid my money, so I stayed. But that's something that sets my body in the right way. I would love it. Doesn't happen all the time, but I would love to start my day like that. I love yoga.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really enjoy. I think it's called Vinyasa flow.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it almost feels like a dance. Like there's such a good sense of movement throughout, like the practice. And I fell in love with it a few years ago. I think probably like right before Jesus Christ Superstar. And it kind of it shifted me. I was like, oh, I didn't know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Now I understand why people love yoga so much. Would you say, because I know you to be a performer all around with an emphasis in dance, like I would consider you like a top tier dancer.
Oh, shucks.
But I feel like I've encountered people, and I know people who are very aware of their body. And you said something when you were talking about yoga that kind of pinged a thought for me. Do you notice, in thinking about this space of mindfulness, do you notice when your body is like immediately off?
Oh,
and like how do you rectify that?
100%. So when I went to school at AMDA, I am so thankful for that experience because my dance background is standing in front of the TV, like imitating things. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I never took like a formal dance class until I got to college, and that was when I was going to Clark Atlanta. Like sometimes people would come in because I was on a dance team. Sometimes people would come in and we would have like a technique class, but I never really learned the correct way to hold my body up or like the correct muscles to use or like the correct feeling that I was supposed to have in my body until I went to AMDA. Because some of the teachers were like either were currently studying or already studied like anatomy or like kinesiology. My mouth just broke.
Okay.
But it was so helpful because, and this is something that I wish like not just dancers, like just people in general, even with everyday movements, I wish people could understand the muscles that you're supposed to use to walk up the steps, or like how you supposed to be leaned over the sink when you brushing your teeth or washing your face in the morning. And supposed to is whatever, but the most effective way to do it. I'll never forget when I don't know what was going on, but I was like out of shape. I don't know why or what I was doing, but I was leaned over the sink one day, and that's why I said that, leaned over the sink, and I was like, why does my back hurt? And I would notice every morning when I'm leaning over the sink, my back hurt, my back hurt, my back hurt. And one day I got up and I was like, I'm not using my core. And that sounds like...
No, but I get it. I completely get it.
It's... Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's for those who are not performers, I feel like or people who go to the gym, I feel like you will understand this, but that is a term that gets thrown around a lot, speaking about engaging your core and making sure, but from a performance standpoint, I feel like it's something that we encounter so much when we do shows, depending on if there's choreography involved, if it's a movement heavy, quote unquote, movement heavy show or a dance heavy show. But even in delivering lines and like speaking on stage and singing, your full body has to be engaged.
100%.
Yeah. And there's no way around it. Believe me, I've tried. I've looked for an alternative and it does not exist. One of the exercises that we used to do in school that I think kind of helped the idea click for me when it came to like really listening and being aware of my body and being mindful of it. We would do a warm up at the beginning of an acting class, and we would drop to the ground, right? Like release the tension from your body. And it's a phrase that sticks out in my mind to this day, but the teacher would always say, okay, now slowly roll up vertebrae by vertebrae. And the image of that in my mind's eye, the image of that in my mind has always been almost like a slinky.
Yes.
Like how you slowly come back to standing. But as I got older, as I performed more, I understood why that warm up was so important. Because there's so much stuff that you do on that stage, from picking up a crate of milk or apples or whatever the prop is, to holding someone up, to moving a set piece, that if you are not fully aware and engaged with your body, you will hurt yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stepping off the stage.
Yeah.
Stepping on the stage.
Yep.
Standing up. Because, and that's another thing people don't realize either. What is holding you up is not just your feet.
Yeah.
And I wish it was something that was normal, something that was taught. I feel like it needs to be a part of like PE classes in elementary and middle schools, because it's important, and it's why like people get older and they hurt themselves. And I don't really believe in I'm old, so this is just how my body is. No, like as you get older, we all have wear and tear, but it's how you take care of your body and the upkeep. That is why you feel the way you feel. I had a friend, she was telling me that was it her uncle? I can't remember if it was her uncle or grandparents anyway, but elderly couple. They have a farm and a garden in the backyard. The husband was outside working in the garden, and the wife was inside. She wasn't bothering him because, that's what he liked to do or whatever. And some time went by, and the neighbor ended up, I guess, like seeing him over the fence. He was outside on the ground.
Oh, wow.
And couldn't get up. Can you imagine falling down and not being able to roll over onto your back or just like push yourself up from, I can't imagine that. I never want to be in a position where I can't get up off the ground.
Yeah. I say I think being tall, that has been one of my biggest fears as I've gotten older, of like getting to an age and being so far from the ground and falling and not being able to get back up.
Yeah. And it's more than just like, because if you break a leg, that's okay. You can still push yourself up and bear crawl to somewhere to get some kind of assistance or something. But I don't know. It's just another part of being mindful. Like you gotta listen to your body. Aches and creaks and groans is probably something that needs to be either strengthened or released. I would love to be a hippie.
Okay.
I don't have enough money though.
So what inspires you the most?
The first thing that came to my mind was like people coming after me. And in whatever capacity that is, like whether it's like a child or me and like a child that came from me, or like a mentor or somebody who's wants to do what I'm doing, or just I just think that positive influences and role models are so important. And if I can do something to give somebody a little hope, I want to do it. I got 17,000 nieces and nephews, godchildren. And if I can just like, this is a little vain, but it makes my heart smile. Like when I talk to my little cousins or I talk to my nieces and nephews and they say, Morgan, you still in New York?
Aww.
And I'm like, yeah. And they like, you doing a show? When is your show? You doing a show? Or
I love that.
I'll be like, yeah. Cause it's cute, cause I remember, like seeing people when I was younger and be like, wow, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, little people.
I love that.
Or big people,
Where specifically, and this could be metaphorically or a physical place, but where do you find the most joy?
Whoa. From people who also want to be joyful. Okay. I feel like in spaces where people also want to experience joy, that's where the most joy happens naturally, because I could say like, oh, around people that I love or people who love me, but sometimes they suck,
Yeah.
And it's because sometimes I suck, depending on what's going on, I might be in a funk, but yeah, and in a good plate of food, and you mix them two together.
Yeah.
That's true. Maybe with a little champagne.
Yeah.
That's definitely a joyful combination right there.
It is. Okay. Since we've touched on it, why not? If you were not performing, what would you be doing?
Something with food.
Okay.
So, like whether that's like, I see myself on a farm. Like that's a whole, I got a whole like plan in my head. Something dealing with food. I see myself on a farm. I need to like, whether it's like gathering vegetables, harvesting, and not even vegetables, like all kinds of food. Cause it's, people say all the time, food is medicine. And it sounds like very hippie, Dr. CB-ish, but like, it's not a lie, and I feel like if people knew that Little Debbie cakes, number one, don't taste good. And number two, are literally plastic. And a real cinnamon bun is not that hard to make. And yes, it got some sugar in it, it's got some bread in it, but it's so much better for you than you eating that stuff out of a package. And you eating 3 cinnamon bun, 3 Little Debbie cakes in one sitting is worse for you than if you made a whole tray of homemade cinnamon buns and ate all of them. I don't know. I just, Jesus. Something to do with food. Me and my mama used to, I really want a sandwich shop. Or wanted one. I don't really know what that is about anymore, but I see myself in a kitchen in a farm 2 kitchen. It also goes with like the body, what I was talking about. I really think that's important. And then food goes hand in hand, very, 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 very passionate about the body and how it relates to food and how if we are aware of what's going on in our body, how we can fix it and we can heal it at home. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
I greatly appreciate it. It's been a joy.
Yes.
And I hope that it does not take this long to see you again.
I know.
Because I need to see your face more.
I
We need
know.
to see each other's faces more.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm manifesting in the in the new year and the years to come to just kind of like solidify my place
Yeah.
in the world as it relates to a home base. You know,
I get that.
I'm trying to get pregnant
Oh, okay.
and have some kids
Oh, all right. Well,
and wake them up on the farm.
all right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And with that, I'll see you next week.